Hello, hello, hello. It's Moscow Mitch Monday. We are your Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, and we are doing a special debate edition. So we're live streaming later than we normally are. So if Nate nods off, that's why. But I think it was a great debate. I'm so glad we had a chance to watch it live, see what was happening, see the lies. We didn't actually keep a lie counter, but we should have, and it probably would have hit the triple digits. Mitch McConnell had nothing but fear and lies to work against Amy McGrath, and I think she did a great job of kind of nailing him on a number of different important points. So we're going to go into our kind of traditional Moscow Mitch Monday. We're going to bring a few different elements to it. We've got Mitch in the news. We're going to do following Mitch's money. So we've got Doug here. We've got talking about judicial appointments and the election. We've got Campaigns Corner with Sarah Lynn Cunningham from the Sierra Club, which is really exciting to me. I think we do need to talk more about this issue. But we also have updates on our campaigns to ditch Mitch. I hope that after watching that debate, you are fired up to ditch Mitch, right? We are 22 days out, right? So we've got 3 weeks to make it happen, and that's going to require, I think, a lot. But what we've got is our updates on our See Senator Saturday or Save Our SCOTUS Saturday demonstrations. We have got a real need to amplify the messages we're putting out. So if you could help us in our efforts to fundraise, we put a goal of raising $500 a week, which we are well shy of right now. So please do, if you want to help us get the word out about what are the issues that are critical in this election, we've got 3 weeks to put them out there, and it would be awesome if you could make an investment in our all-volunteer campaign to hold Mitch accountable. All right, so that's pretty much the show. I wanted to say, we're excited because we're in a new location. We've actually, we left our homes, which is crazy. Obviously I've got my mask here, but I'm close to, legally, CDC recommended guidelines. We are distanced, but we are all in the same space, which is kind of exciting for us. And we're here at the Loudoun House, which is a beautiful space, and we're surrounded by our producer Ken's art. So Ken Howell's art is all around us, and it's really cool. It's not calming. Just to be clear, it's a soothing situation that we've got here. We're a little edgy, which I think is probably what we need to tackle Mitch over the next 3 weeks. Did I say there's 3 weeks? We've only got 3 weeks, people. All right, so we're going to do introductions. Say your name, where you're from, and what does your sign say today. And my name's Aaron. I'm from the Loudoun House today, and my sign says "Save Our Climate, Ditch Mitch." And I think we will go to Kimberly next. And again, if you're watching the live stream, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, leave a comment. What does your protest sign say today? After watching that debate, what are you fired up about? What's your protest sign say today? Hey, Kimberly, is your camera on? Can you turn your camera on? Oh, Kimberly's not here. She's going to go to Nate. Let's go to Nate. Let's go to Nate. Oh, Kimberly's back. So. All right. Woo, there she is.
Hey, you guys. I am Kimberly Cecil-Jones, and I'm right here in Louisville, Kentucky. And my sign says today, after watching the debate, hashtag Mitch is going to hell.
That was almost a spit take. I almost wow, real. That's strong words. Strong words, Kimberly. Very strong words. All right, Nate, what's up?
Hey folks, this is Nate Orshan, not broadcasting from my lovely home in South Frankfurt with Kit. But instead, today, joining my colleagues here at the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee at Loudoun House. And my sign, which is going to take a little room here, but, you know, imagine it in your mind. Kentucky, save yourself. Vote Amy McGrath and put a piece of amazing activist art from Ken Cravens on your wall today.
That's awesome. I am looking at these pieces, and I think you should come to the Loudoun House and check them out. Maybe they're not for the bedroom, right? Because again, I think they're a little aggressive for going to sleep, but they are definitely some great art that we're excited to showcase. Nate's got the best backdrop, clearly. So we're going now to Mitch in the News. I think the first story coming to us from Kimberly, I believe, who, if she's there and can turn on her camera, will have the first story. All right. Or we're just going to go to Nate. Nate, who's got story number 2, but becomes story number 1. All right.
I moved up the list here. All right. So thanks, Aaron. So this week, we learned that Mitch hasn't been to the White House in 2 months. Now, that's an interesting fact, given that both his and our president's elections are coming up, and their political futures would appear to be yoked together. I mean, Trump really, really needs the Senate in order to pass bills such as, maybe another round of disaster relief? Bills that might make the Republican Party and its standard bearer, that's Donald Trump, look better in the run-up to November. And Mitch has, for a long time now, linked his political future to Trump, who has had the power of making life very difficult for any Republican office holder who's seeking re-election for the 7th time, but maybe gets on the wrong side of the president. It's not a natural fit, as we've noted before here on Mitch in the News. But it is the case that Mitch has had to coordinate with the White House closely when the chips seemed really to be down for the standard bearer of the Republican Party, that's Donald Trump. So, what could possibly have kept Mitch physically away from his patron of necessity for the past 2 months? Hint, it rhymes with Winona virus. Here's the quotation that was reported in the BBC this past Thursday, October 8th. Quote, speaking to reporters in Kentucky, Mr. McConnell said he steered clear of the White House in the last 2 months, quote, because my impression was their approach to how to handle this was different from mine, unquote. He later also noted that he, quote, personally didn't feel that they were approaching the protection from this illness, unquote, in the way he felt, quote, was appropriate for the Senate, unquote. Well, shut my mouth and call me Andy. Our senior senator and I finally agree on something. The White House's approach is indeed 180 degrees different from how any responsible, compassionate, grown-ass adult in a position of leadership would manage the deadly pandemic, starting with, let's see, 1, being honest with the public about the disease's lethality and its means of spreading. 2, continuing with coordinating a national response that gets all the states taking the same rigorous steps to protect us all. And 3, at a minimum, modeling safe, hygienic behavior by not cramming maskless people into rallies and rose garden events where they can infect one another willy-nilly. But hold on, Mitch is so busy patting himself on the back for taking coronavirus infection seriously. He thinks we fellow Kentucky voters aren't going to notice that if he had really taken it seriously from the beginning, he would have done so much more for us. For starters, he could have called the president out or said anything in public when it was clear from the start that Trump wasn't taking the pandemic as seriously as he needed to. Say what you will about Mitch, and Lord knows we do around these here parts, but he is not a dumb guy, and he knows a national public health crisis when he sees one. He let Trump's denial and dithering go on without any resistance. And then there's the small matter of what Kentucky and our country needs when our economy necessarily slows down because of a raging pandemic, namely massive amounts of assistance from the government. Now, you shouldn't need to be John Maynard Keynes to know that when people become suddenly almost violently unemployed because of a disaster like this pandemic, the only entity that can keep those people's basic living costs from bankrupting them or making them homeless is the federal government. I know, it's not like Mitch controls the Senate, but he could use his office, his seniority, his experience, his gravitas, I don't know, the fact that he knows where all the bodies are buried for his caucus members, and he could throw himself into doing right by the country and getting it the relief funding it needs. And hey, man, even if it's a Sisyphean task that doesn't literally pay off, imagine what a good look it would be to us here in Kentucky, us voters, to see the senator rolling up his sleeves and fighting like hell just to try to get us what we need to get us through this recession. But no. The man who's so proud of himself for recognizing how bad the pandemic is to the health of senators and himself, wear those masks, that man doesn't have the courage to do anything more than ram through a Supreme Court justice just 3 weeks before the election. But good news. I do know someone who has the guts to fight for appropriate coronavirus relief funding in the Senate. Her name is Amy McGrath. And if we elect her, she is going to roll up her sleeves and work relentlessly for keeping Kentuckians fed, housed, and healthy. Because unlike our currently useless senator, a Marine, even retired, doesn't run away from their righteous mission. From Moscow Mitch Monday, I'm Nate Orshan.
All right. Ooh, nice work, Nate. All right, so thanks so much for sharing that really hard-hitting essay. Obviously, Mitch has been, totally MIA, right? So here we are, we're in the midst of this pandemic. As we heard in that debate, all he's got is the CARES Act. It's like a broken record again and again and again with the CARES Act, ignoring where we are right now. Look what I did for you half a year ago. Isn't that great 6 months ago when we were helping you, and now you're being evicted, and now you don't have your job because the virus is spiking, and we don't have a national strategy to deal with it. But I'm not going to pass anything because I can't actually work with Nancy Pelosi, because otherwise she could claim that I worked with her. Right? Like, it is just it's to watch this whole thing play out when real lives are at stake. It is infuriating. And to see Mitch, blaming Democrats, right? That's all he had, blaming Democrats. It's not their fault. They have a package. It's comprehensive. Meet us halfway and get this thing fixed. So, and then I think we're going to go to Kimberly to hear about her story. Right? Kimberly, you there? Kimberly. She came back for a second. She did. She came back, and then she was not that back. All right. So Kimberly is going to go story number 3. That's what we're going to do with Kimberly. All right. So for Mitch in the News, my story. This one I'm actually bringing to us from Fox News, which I'll be honest, I didn't actually watch it to find this. This was a link that was shared in my social media. But they're covering this, Amy Coney Bryant, the nomination, and Mitch is going like full-throated, blaming the Democrats, scaring people away because, they're going after her for her religion, right? So they're attacking Trump's SCOTUS nominee over her religion. Amy Coney Barrett is indeed Catholic. But I guess the argument that Mitch was making on Fox is that her abortion views are kind of overly influenced on her faith, right? Or influenced by her faith. So the fact that people are challenging her abortion views means they're challenging her faith. That's how he's kind of putting that together. Of course, the thing that is really problematic about this is that, Catholicism is not a wholly owned subsidiary of the right wing. Right? As much as the right would like that to be the case, the reality of it is, who else is Catholic? I don't know. Joe Biden, like, Joe Biden is Catholic. Joe Biden, carries a rosary with him wherever he goes. Joe Biden brings up his faith constantly. So one would hope that even the most out of tune Fox viewers is going to catch on to the fact that, oh, wait, no, it's not that the Democrats are attacking her faith. They're attacking what she would do on abortion, right? So that's the challenge here. It's not about her faith. It's about that wall, that separation of church and state. So if you are letting your faith guide your interpretation of the law, that's a problem, because that's not what our country was founded on. And we need to see a far more kind of robust conversation about what she would do as a juror, right? And she comes to us from a very interesting background, and it's not my concern is not about Notre Dame and a Catholic university. That's not my concern. My concern is her background is that she has been embraced and endorsed by right-wing institutions that I think are absolutely destroying the court, right? If you guys are not paying attention to what Heather Cox Richardson is doing, this historian, she's on Facebook. She does a post almost every day about kind of the day in history, basically the history we're living right now. But she has a wonderfully informative post this weekend that was about the fact that since Nixon, Republicans have appointed 15 Supreme Court justices. All right, so that's 15 from the Republicans. How many from the Democrats? 4. There have only been 4 Supreme Court nominees from the Democrats that have made it onto the Supreme Court. And that's, 2 terms from Obama, 2 terms from Clinton, versus, 2 terms from Bush, and then, of course, Nixon and Ford. And then poor Jimmy Carter, didn't actually get a single appointment through. So the idea that, we've got balance on our court is a sham, right? The thing that's been happening, though, is that the right wing has weaponized the Supreme Court in a way that the left really hasn't. And I think I'm biased, but I think that's an honest assessment of what's happened, right? So there was a big fight over Bork, and they stopped him because he had some very out of the mainstream views. But then since then, we've seen a lot of vitriol from the right about this. And the idea, though, is that the Federalist Society has now become the arbiter of who is an appropriate judicial appointment. So if you are not blessed by the Federalist Society, you are not going to get on that short list of potential nominees to the Supreme Court. And the Federalist Society is this it's very clear about what they want to do. They've got outside the mainstream conservative views, judicial views that are about, abortion, but mostly it's not about abortion. It's about kind of the corporate rights. So things like Citizens United, weakening the Voting Rights Act. This stuff is being decided by Federalist Society blessed judicial appointments, and the course, I think, or the arc of where the judicial appointments and the decisions are being made is very clear. They're stripping away workers' rights. They're stripping away environmental rights. They're, of course, stripping away a women's right to choose healthcare options. But that's the real, I think, concern for me. It's not about her affiliation with the Catholic Church. It's her affiliation with the Federalist Society that is the murky and scary piece of what's deciding her take on the law. So anyway, what I did want to just point out is that the corporate rule is, at the end of the day, what the Federalist Society is pushing, what Republicans are pushing. That's their priority. If we discuss abortion, which I think we should, which I think we heard it in the debate. Amy discussed the fact that she's Catholic and that she's not really a clear fan of abortion, but the fact that a woman should have a right to choose, right? It's like, who gets to make the decision about the abortion? Is it the woman and her doctor and her faith, or is it the federal government? And I think most people, if you have that conversation, most people really aren't comfortable with the federal government making that determination. But we never have the conversation long enough to think through, what does that really mean to be pro-life, right? Can you be pro-life and cut women's access to birth control? Because if you're pro-life, you want to keep women from ever having to make that horrible decision. So women should have easy access to birth control. The Affordable Care does that. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, does that, requires that, right? But here, the same judicial appointments are lining up to, cut Obamacare, cut the Affordable Care Act as much as they can. So, just coming back to it, I think faith is important. Faith's important to me. I'm a Christian. I'll say it. And if you think about where Jesus came down on some of these issues, right? Jesus on abortion scrutinized the Bible. He didn't talk about abortion. And there clearly were historical precedents for that situation happening back then. When did you see, Jesus getting engaged and fighting about, public policy? I think it was when he was flipping, the tables over in the temple. When he was running the money changers out of the temple was when he had a very clear take on that kind of wall between religion and commerce. And he came down on the side of a faith that was not being twisted and sold to people. And I think that same question should be asked right now. What is going on with our faith, and where is religion coming down, and where is commerce coming down, or these corporate influences? I think it's time for some money changers to be driven out of the temple, because it's very clear to me that these faith-orientated these people who wrap themselves in their faith are really just advancing a corporate agenda. So that's kind of my take on where we are right now in this discussion about faith and the Supreme Court. It's not about faith. It's just about their adherence to these corporate interests that are somehow have become muddied and intertwined with their faith. So that's me for Mitch in the News. And I don't know if folks have a thought about it. Nate, if that's an issue you've been paying attention to, the role of Amy Coney Barrett and faith in the conversation about her appointment.
Oh yeah. That other than what you've said, but I think it needs to be highlighted that the Republicans are doing one of these classic acts of misdirection, right? Where they will pull something, an attribute of the candidate, and try to make you focus on that, and then try to make that into this. The term is in logic the straw man argument, like, oh, they're going to be against her because she's a Catholic and blah 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 blah. And as you said, no, it's about this really kind of reactionary conservatism that is completely out of step with mainstream American thinking. And it's not just me spewing this here in the Loudoun House tonight. This is statistics that show that most Americans are not for hardcore restrictions against abortion. Most Americans are actually not for hardcore anything that's conservative, right? On a variety of issues, whether you're talking about the climate or reproductive rights or education. I mean, most Americans are much more left of center than the Republicans would like you to believe. So what do? When they have someone like this that they're going to try to ram through quickly to get them on the Supreme Court, they'll focus on something that, is sort of hot and tasty, namely the notion that she's a religion that people would want to discriminate against. But
yeah,
no.
It is clearly a distraction. Right. It is, as you said, misdirection, squirrel, and off Eddie goes. But at this point, we should be on to them, right? Because they've been doing it for how long? So I think the idea that they're going to jam through the Supreme Court nomination, even though 4 years ago the rules were completely different, right? Even though this is packing the court. Right, this is what they're doing. So they stole a seat with Merrick Garland. They stole another seat right now as they're jamming something through, which clearly should not be appointed under this administration. People are already voting. In Kentucky, we start voting tomorrow. Early voting happens now. So the idea that they're going to appoint somebody while the election is underway is incredibly offensive and inconsistent. But they're going to do it because what's Mitch's rule? It's not about consistency. It's not about ethics. It's about power. His number one goal is to grab power, keep power, build power for his corporate interests, and that's what's going on. Kimberly, any thoughts about that, or do you want to jump into your story?
Mitch and his power. All I can say about that, Aaron, is let's take the power away from him with our votes. But I am ready to do my Mitch in the News. First of all, my girl, Amy McGrath, okay? Amy McGrath had a wonderful column in the Courier Journal. Actually, it was recently that sums up what a twisted and useless senator that Mitch McConnell really is. And it is also for anyone that needs health care, pointing out how fixated Mitch is on overturning Obamacare, aka ACA, without any plan to replace it. And this actually is a quote from the column where it says right here, McConnell is backing a lawsuit to overturn the ACA that will be heard by the Supreme Court in November. How about this? November the 10th is when the Supreme Court will hear this. His determination to fill the vacant seat on the court as fast as possible, no matter the cost, with someone he believes will vote the way that he wants, just shows how committed that Mitch is to ripping away health care from close to 500,000 Kentuckians, and allowing health insurance companies to deny coverage to more than 70,000 Kentuckians who have had COVID-19, and 1.8 million Kentuckians with pre-existing conditions. So let's just talk about Mitch and Obamacare, okay, for a second here. If you recall, Obamacare was a policy formulated by the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. It was actually implemented in Massachusetts under Governor Mitt Romney. So this is really how Republicans can improve health care. They have no policy issues or ideas to improve health care other than this. And because of Mitch and the Republicans' unwillingness to do anything with the Obama administration, kept them from engaging. Now, if you think about Mitch and health care, okay, first of all, we know that Amy is and was a big fan of John McCain. And at that moment when John McCain went to the floor, I remember it quite well, and as the final vote, he said no. He gave the thumbs down. You all remember this? I saw it in real time. I was like, and in addition to that, it wasn't because he wanted Mitch to lose. It was because he did not want the American people to go without health care. And there was no plan to legitimately replace that plan. And that's where we still are today, years later. No beautiful, better, cheaper way coming from this White House, of course, and or this Senate. Period. I'll put the T on it. Period. The thing about it is, we really don't believe Mitch when he says anything remotely about he wants to protect people with pre-existing conditions, including those that have had COVID-19, because he won't, and he never has, and he never will. You know, the Republicans, they're basically out of ideas. And, you know, as far as Obamacare, that was their best idea. So back to you, Aaron, and that was Mitch in the news.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And, you know, I do think that the healthcare issue is so critical for us to spend some time on, right? Each and every episode of Moscow Mitch Monday, we need to be talking about healthcare because, you know, it's important. And keep challenging Mitch. He has no plan. All he's got is this kind of unwavering hatred of the American, you know, the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. Probably because it has Obama's name on it. I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of their motivation.
You think?
All right. So we're now moving on. We're moving on to Campaigns Corner. This is a really exciting Campaigns Corner. For this edition, we're going to dive in on climate change. So that existential threat to our society. We've got, you know, California and Colorado in flames, huge wildfires, bigger and hotter due to climate change. We've got Hurricane Delta, Delta. The reason it's Hurricane Delta and not like some name is because they ran through all the letters of the alphabet and had to come back around to the other side, which never happens, right? So we got Hurricane Delta, which just came ashore the same path as Hurricane Laura. It went from a tropical storm to a Category 4 like overnight. So these hurricanes are getting bigger, they're slower, they're wetter due to climate change. And despite these, wildfires in the news and the hurricanes in the news, the U.S. fails to take any sort of, demonstrable action, right? And we've got, of course, our current Senate leader, we've got the current White House that just do not see any problem that needs to be addressed with policy in terms of climate change. But I actually, just recently saw an article from The Guardian that was in the Guardian newspaper last month, which shows that Kentucky's climate is changing quickly. The Bluegrass State is actually the 9th most threatened state in the country by long-term climate change impacts, according to a recent study by safehome.org, which is based on data from Climate Central. That puts it ahead even of California, where wildfires recently have wreaked havoc. Erratic weather, exceptional heat, drought, wildfires, and flooding all threaten Kentucky. Going on from that article, McConnell has accepted more than $3 million from the coal, oil, and gas industries over the course of his career. Critics say he's returned the favor with handouts, tax breaks, and regulatory cuts to keep the dying industry aloft. In 2017, McConnell joined the Trump administration in urging America's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. In 2019, he engineered what he admitted was a show vote intended to kill the Green New Deal. As a campaigner, McConnell has framed efforts to rein in the coal industry as the meddling of a distant federal government out of touch with Kentuckians' way of life. That's not to say coal has been good to Kentuckians of late. The coal industry employed some 38,000 Kentuckians when McConnell took office in 1985. It's below 4,000 today. Workers in the mountainous eastern part of the state have found themselves laid off and uncompensated for their work by coal bosses, and deregulation has led to one of the worst black lung epidemics on record. Eastern Kentucky counties are among the poorest in the nation, with poverty rates around 40%. The water in some of those counties is either undrinkable or unaffordable. Meanwhile, McConnell sits on the Senate Agricultural Committee, but has seemed indifferent to how climate change threatens Kentucky's sizable agricultural sector. That's from that article, which I think is really a powerful article. We'll share that in the comments. But one individual who was quoted in that article was Sarah Lynn Cunningham. Sarah Lynn Cunningham is a longtime activist from the Louisville area, has done an amazing amount of work on climate change, and we're very honored to have her with us tonight. What's that? Oh, you're muted, Sarah?
Yeah,
so you might need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. There you are.
So, first of all, that article did such a good job. I don't think I need to say too much. My thoughts are that climate change is really the latest symptom of the foundational problem. And that is, I believe that the lack of campaign finance reform is the mother of all reforms. It really doesn't matter what issue you're concerned about. If money is in the way, you're not going to see any resolution. And I really regret that I lost the name of a book that somebody put out a couple of years ago, because I wished I could have gotten it and read it and used it. But the thesis was this: if Congress solves a problem, nobody's going to give them any money. If they don't solve a problem and periodically talk about it, or solve it for 6 to 9 months, when it comes back up again, everybody's lining up and writing checks, at least the vested interests that have the professional lobbyist. And therefore, as long as they have to raise so much money for re-election, they've got a hell of a disincentive to solve any problems at all. In the case of Mitch McConnell, I don't think I have to tell you guys, he is so beholden to the fossil fuel industry that he can't even acknowledge climate change. You can go onto his campaign website and search it, as I have done, for the words climate, pollution, environment. You get nothing. But what's really telltale is not even the word conservation. Now, I kind of think conservation and conservative ought to be synonymous, but they're not. So there's something kind of screwed up there, I would say. And of course, if he's to me the more responsible than anybody for the nomination of all these conservative federal judges. Well, and I don't know if you all watched the debate this evening, but once again, McConnell talked about Obama's war on coal. Well, the cold, harsh reality here is that George Bush ignored not one, not two, but 3 Supreme Court rulings that said the federal government, specifically the EPA, must regulate greenhouse gases per the Clean Air Act. So Bush ignored that. Obama came in and followed those 3 SCOTUS rulings, and then suddenly he's accused of a war on coal, which is, of course, complete BS. It's the competition from cheap natural gas and renewables that's causing the problem. And what's really sad is another endemic thing is McConnell doesn't care about people in Kentucky, because if he did, he would be helping the people who are losing their jobs through this failure of the economic system to keep those jobs. And the failure is a normal capitalism thing. I don't know why we can't have it. Sometimes I'm being facetious. McConnell has also protected Trump as he has gutted one federal environmental law, policy, and regulation ad nauseum. Why is my phone ringing? Do you all still hear me? I don't know what that was about. This is a new laptop, and I still sometimes get distracted by stuff I've never seen before. Then, if somebody else, such as the House, produces environmental legislation, he kills it. There is a national organization called the League of Conservation Voters, which ranks sitting federal politicians for their scores, or they give them a score for how they have voted on environmental legislation. And Mitch McConnell, as well as Representatives James Comer and Hal Rogers, have a 7% score. That's like about as flunking as you can get. But for our boy, Representative Thomas Massey, who got a 3%. So, I guess he had to have somebody be a little worse. But, like I say, to me, the bottom line is we're not debating the issues of climate change in Washington. We're really just protecting the vested interest, the highest dollar, to keep Mitch in power. And I truly believe that until we can fix that, we're going to be left with grassroots action. I think grassroots action can do some amazing stuff. Look at this photo. I'm going to pull it up closer. See this
Oh my
photo?
God. Yeah.
This was downtown Louisville in 1943. And you couldn't see 2 blocks away because of coal smoke. That is why my grandmother died and great-grandmother died of COPD, though they never smoked cigarettes. It's because they sucked in all this damn coal dust. Mitch McConnell acts like that would be okay to go back to it. I don't think he's really that stupid, because he knows that would really cost him a lot of votes. But the reason I show you this is that we didn't solve that problem through politics and our political system. We solved it with grassroots action. So I don't want to underestimate what we could do to solve climate change with leadership and grassroots action, but we really don't have time to rely upon that solely. We desperately need game-changing federal legislation to put everybody on the same playing field and get this show on the road. End of speech.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sarah Lynn, for joining us. I'd be interested to hear your take on it. So, in the grand scheme of things, Mitch McConnell's been there for 36 years. He's been, fighting climate change legislation every step of the way. How important is this election, right? He's been there every 6 years. He gets reelected, and every 6 years, we still don't do anything on climate change. Why does it matter now?
Well, I actually am a bit of an amateur historian. That's how I came by that photograph. In the history of the United States, we have never had game-changing environmental legislation unless and until we had a huge disaster. I've got a book with a table, and every federal environmental law that we have right before it was some huge disaster where people died. So that's a pattern that I suspect is going to continue. Now, I'd like to think that New Orleans getting hit twice, not New Orleans, but rural Louisiana getting hit twice lately, and all the other coastal communities that have been hit so hard with hurricanes. I'd like to think that would be the major severe disaster to get people in gear, but it's not because of this kind of politicization of science. But anyway, let me just actually quit digressing here. So things will have to get worse before the public demands that Congress do anything. And the problem is greenhouse gases, there's multiple. We say gases plural for a reason, but the biggest one is carbon dioxide, biggest one by volume. It is in the atmosphere on the order of a century. So the pollution we put into the atmosphere today by burning fossil fuels are going to be around for a century. We do not get to hit the brakes and everything suddenly goes away. And that's why everything is way past due. Secondly, there are these things in nature called feedback loops where things feed on themselves, and we are beginning to trigger the feedback loops. And if we trigger too many of them too far, we can't turn back.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're hearing more and more just dire predictions about how many years we have to act. And, it seems very much like that window of opportunity to keep our climate, habitable is closing on our fingers, right? And again, the idea that we're saving the planet, that's, the planet will be here. What we're trying to do is save our own asses, right? Because we are not the amount of, the concern the Republican Party have about refugees, right? Just wait until, climate change goes up to 11 and the number of refugees that are going to be flooding across our borders because people cannot live where they live now. And we are a little bit more immune than other, ecosystems, but we're definitely having a lot, we are going to be influenced. The world will be influenced. We will see massive amounts of relocation. And that's if we don't act now, right?
Yeah, and we're already seeing mass extinction of animal and insect species, plant species, because they can't migrate fast enough to maintain the conditions that they need to survive. But yes, the planet's going to survive. The question is it with us or without us?
Yeah. Hey, Sarah Lynn, thank you so much for hanging with us, and thank you so much for presenting the Sierra Club perspective on this election, which I'm going to just to be perfectly painfully obvious, the Sierra Club does not support the re-election of Mitch McConnell, correct?
Well, we issued what we call an anti-endorsement. What happens is in Kentucky statewide races, the Democratic or more liberal candidate doesn't want our endorsement because they're worried that anybody in the middle will step back and go with their opponent. So we sent our questionnaire to both Amy McGrath and Mitch McConnell's campaigns, and neither of them returned it. So we couldn't conduct an interview and therefore couldn't endorse Amy McGrath. We don't take that personally, but it also means that we can only anti-endorse McConnell, and that's the document that I wrote for the statewide newspaper, and my remarks tonight were basically a recap of that anti-endorsement.
Well, speaking to you as the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, we don't have a problem with that framing. Obviously, Mitch is a huge problem, and anyone but Mitch would be an improvement. But talking to Amy, clearly she understands the relevance and the urgency of climate change. She likes to think about it from a national security perspective, which is a wholly legitimate way of looking at climate change. Absolutely. So, Sarah Lynn Cunningham, thanks again for being with us and sharing that perspective, and have a great night.
You're welcome. Take care. Thank y'all.
Awesome.
Fingers
So Sarah
crossed.
Lynn is an absolute just treasure. If you are concerned about climate, if you want places to get good information, turn to her, find her. She is, I think, really, really a person that you can, trust the information she's giving, and she's not afraid to tell the truth about what's going on. She's politically fearless, which is something I very much admire about her. All right, so next up, we're going to our call to action. So that is, in case you have not been paying attention, the call to action is to vote. We have got to vote. Voting is underway right now as we speak. All right, well, I think tomorrow is the official start of early voting. So if you want to go in person to vote, you can do that, and that's pretty fantastic. It's a much safer situation. It's a little confusing, because if you normally just go down to your firehouse and vote on election day, don't do that this year. You're going to have to educate yourself, because in Fayette County, and I don't know if we've got that graphic, but we have 6 locations where you can go and vote. There it is. So where you can go and vote in person starting tomorrow. I think it's from 9 to 4:30 or something like that. But you can also drop off your ballot if you requested an absentee ballot. Those locations a lot of them are drop-off locations, but that's important. First thing, make sure your vote is managed, that you've got a plan, that it gets counted. If you do a drop-off, or if you do it by mail, you can actually check on the govoteky.com website. You can see if your ballot has been returned, if they have it there, which is pretty cool. But beyond that, we need to mobilize other people to vote. So I'm assuming that if you are watching the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee live stream, you're probably good on voting, right? You get that this is important. But I bet you've got a lot of friends and family who are not, in fact, watching the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee live stream, because our numbers are pretty low. So, it's a good odds that they're not watching. What you need to do is adopt them and help them to vote. And so we've got a special challenge. We've got a tool to do that. We're going to be sending out weekly reminders about information to share with your friends. But all you need to do is take 5 minutes, come up with your list of people who, you could encourage to vote, and give them information they need. Maybe encourage them to vote for, the non-Mitch candidate. And, that they're going to listen to you because you're a respected person, not some, internet meme, or, you're not Fox News. So you're actually trustworthy in terms of your information that you're giving them. And if they're Fox News watchers, that's fine. I want to say this. We have been protesting Mitch McConnell every Saturday for a while now, right? And every time we're out there with our banners, clearly anti-Mitch, not a single individual has ever said, Mitch 2020. No one ever fights us about Mitch. They will drive by and occasionally, wave with only one finger and yell Trump 2020. Right. But no one is defending Mitch, right? So I think we can peel off a fair number of Republican voters, conservative voters, who get that for 36 years, Mitch has taken care of himself, and he's now this multimillionaire, and Kentucky's worse off than we were when he first went into office, right? So I think we can do that, but it's going to require you engaging your family, your friends, your barista. Well, I don't know if we really have baristas anymore, but what do we have? Who do we actually see? Coworkers, maybe we see them over Zoom. You can probably ask them about their take on the election and encourage them to have a plan to vote. So that's the call to action. Any thoughts, Nate, about our Empower plan? Have you been paying attention to that?
Yeah, a little. I mean, the committee had a training last week with this great guy, Cornelius, out of Michigan, and works for the Empower organization. And it's pretty cool. And it's the nice thing about it is it really steps you through all the steps you need to take that they know, because they've been doing this for a while now, and they've sort of got this down, to engage, and motivate the people in your life to go out and engage other people and engage themselves in voting behavior. It's funny. Some of it is sometimes comes across a little bit like, I don't know what, like an Avon program or something like, oh, your friends and your 10 friends and your 10 friends. But it's not, this is not for making money and maybe getting a gold card at the end. This is for all of us voting and getting Mitch McConnell out of office.
Multi-level voting, right? No one gets a pink Cadillac at the end, though, unfortunately.
No.
Although, maybe I would give Trump a pink Cadillac as a consolation prize to get him out. I would absolutely, whatever it takes.
Gets him out.
Mitch, I don't know. He's set. I think he actually is legitimately a millionaire. All we know is that Trump is legitimately like $400 million in debt. So, all right. So we're moving on to our next segment. I think we're saying goodbye to Kimberly. I think she's moved on. Thank her very much for being with us. But now we're going to Doug Price, who each and every week, without clockwork, it's amazing. The guy does more homework, really, than anyone else on the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, because each and every week he's doing the research to show us what's going on with Mitch's money. So, Doug, what's going on with Mitch's money?
I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route.
Okay, as a lot of you all probably know, if you've watched this in the past, I have a problem at my house with internet connectivity. And so sometimes in the early shows when I was talking, I'd be like, the noise would be coming and going. So tonight I'm able to be here, and by the way, no thanks to Mitch for my internet connectivity. I just want to read you something that my wife sent me. She watched the debate, and she said, well, Amy McGrath just kicked Mitch McConnell's, and in the spirit of the campaign, I want to say I'm Doug Price and I approve this message. First, I want to make a statement about the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. I joined this committee when the committee was formed several months ago. We are a dedicated group of volunteers who work with thousands of other people who are committed to effect change. The people on this committee are amazing, and I appreciate their hard work and the work of those who have helped us along the way. Tonight's Following Mitch's Money will look at the following items: fundraising, judicial appointments, and the election. Open Secrets is a go-to place to find out most everything about the financial aspects of elections. If you're looking to get lost for hours on end, being fascinated by all the intricacies of money and politics, and walking away with disgust, then Google it. Open Secrets reports that during this election cycle, there will be over $11 billion spent. They estimate the total in 2016 was $6.5 billion. Currently, Mitch has taken in over $37 million, and I would not be surprised if that amount doubles or triples, including dark money and/or PACs that work for the benefit of Mitch. Plus, these totals are only through June 2020. We may not agree on candidates, but surely we can all agree there is too much money in politics. Mitch craves this money and uses it to create power. As I've said before, this is circular. Give me money and I will have more power, which allows more money to be given to me, creating more power. Here are some examples from this election cycle. Contributions from NORPAC of $168,000, UPS $90,000, KKNR $80,000, Apollo Global Management $90,000. Mitch has received total contributions over $500,000 from many states, including California, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, Florida, and Kentucky. 9% of his funds have come from Kentucky, his constituents, I guess you would say, and the other 91% from out of state. The average 2020 Senate campaign is approximately $4 million, and Mitch's fundraisings may well be over $70 million. Mitch has used his ability to generate donations to take over the Senate and effectively control whatever legislation is considered, including the appointment of judges. His current passion is a vote to approve Amy Coney Barrett to replace the recently deceased Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You may remember that Justice Ginsburg made it known that, and this is a quote, "My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed." Mitch offered condolences upon her death via a tweet and stated in the tweet that he would fill this vacancy prior to the election. Based on current conditions, I believe Mitch is genuinely concerned that President Trump is going to be defeated. He is concerned the Senate may flip and he may lose his election. I call that the trifecta. If all of this happens, then his swan song will be that he has appointed conservative judges to all federal courts to make the laws of the United States of America more conservative. According to one source, conservatives make up approximately 37% of the American population, and moderates and liberals make up 59%. Lastly, all of us must vote this coming November 3rd, 2020. Our future depends upon everyone expressing their opinion in the voting booth. Expressing our views on social media does not affect change, and there is no question we need change. Please vote to ditch Mitch on November 3rd, 2020.
Take your money and go. 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 Take your money and go.
This partisan impeachment will end today.
What? You're still watching? What's wrong with you? No, we love you. We love you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Doug. It's a rare pleasure for this live following Mitch's money. So, hey, everybody, we have got just 22 days left to win this thing in retirement to save our democracy. Make sure to take action every day. And here's what your week could look like. Well, today, of course, you watch and listen to Moscow Mitch Monday. And you can also follow us on Facebook and invite 20 friends who want to hashtag ditch Mitch too. We've now topped 2,100 likes, and Kimberly has challenged all y'all to get us up to 3,300 likes. Can you help invite your friends right now? Would you? Thanks. Tomorrow, well, how's this? Call Mitch's office. And here's a pro tip. Most of the other numbers you can't get through. It's like, no voicemail. But the Bowling Green office, for some weird reason, often you're able to get through. So here's the number to Mitch McConnell's Bowling Green office, 270-781-1673. That's 270-781-1673. And just tell them how much you dislike the fact that he's trying to push Amy Coney Barrett through to the Supreme Court. Wednesday. How's this? How's about joining 5K for KY? Start making your list of 10, 20, 30 maybe voters. Folks you can inform and persuade to make your voice heard. We'll plug folks into the Empower platform. You heard us talking about that a little bit earlier, and help share updates and engagement strategies. And here is also a URL you can use to check things out. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/MMRC-GOTV. bit.ly/MMRC-GOTV. Okay, so that takes us all the way to Thursday. Progressives for Josh. We're going to be having another phone calling session for Josh Hicks, who's running for Congress here in the 6th District. That includes the cities of Lexington and Frankfort, amongst others. And we love him. He's just a great guy. Maybe you were lucky enough to see him debate Andy Barr last week, but he it's not just that he thinks on his feet, right? Because there's a lot of politicians who are that way, and that's a great quality, but he's just like righteous. And he comes at this from like the point of view of a guy who has been a freaking Marine, has been a freaking cop, is now a lawyer. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He knows it all. How's about that? So we are going to be doing phone calling for Josh Hicks, this wonderful, wonderful treasurer of the 6th District, to try to push him over the finish line. So come to our webpage, facebook.com/MMRC 2020, and we'll help hook you up with that effort as well. Friday, we've got calls for Amy McGrath. We all love Amy McGrath. And I have no idea how that's going to happen, except that I do know we have this great Facebook page, facebook.com/MMRC 2020. And that's kind of like our central repository. We also have a nice website called retirementformitch.com, but Facebook's kind of like the jump and join. It's got all the stuff. So if you go there, you're bound to find the stuff that we're hoping you'll find. And that brings us all the way to Saturday. It's Save SCOTUS Saturday. Please join us in a protest near Mitch's Lexington office. Will Mitch be there? Who knows? Only one way to find out. Come join us. That's from 3 to 4:30 at Harrodsburg Road and Corporate Drive off New Circle. Lots of fun every week. Sometimes I'll put on the old Grim Reaper outfit. Thanks, Deb. And pick up a Amy Yard sign. Hold up a Ditch Mitch banner for a while and meet other committee members. We're actually nice people, and we will keep you safe because we will all have our masks on, as will you, and we'll keep socially safe distances. And I don't know if you've seen some of the footage here tonight, but we are like definitely we're trying to live up to it. We're all safe distances away from one another, wearing masks whenever possible, and trying to be thoughtful for one another. Here is a URL for that, by the way. Facebook.com/events/ are you kidding? I'm not going to read this. Just go to Facebook.com/MMRC 2020. You'll figure it out. Oh my goodness. Really? I'm supposed to read this stuff? Who writes this stuff anyway? Sunday, we have lit dropping for the People's Campaign. So we started doing this a couple weeks ago. This is really great. So the People's Campaign, they've got it all figured out, man. They've got all these great brochures to educate voters why Mitch McConnell is just like evil for the Commonwealth. But what they need is people like you and me with 2 feet, 2 good arms, and the ability to go from door to door just to put these pamphlets in the doors, not in the mailbox. That's illegal. Do not put these pamphlets in the mailbox. But you can put them in the crease between the doors, or maybe like you can fold it in half and put it underneath the handle. There's all kinds of great techniques, which you will learn when you come join us this upcoming Sunday. I'm not quite sure which city we'll be in, but once again, facebook.com/MMRC 2020, and you will find out all about it. Woo! What a week. What did we miss? What are you doing this week? How are you spending the other 6 days in action? Throw it in our comments section, or you can put it on Twitter. And next Monday, we've got more exciting announcements for Moscow Mitch Monday, which are not on here, but it'll be awesome. The one thing that will be different, though, and that you're very privileged right now, is that we will not be, unfortunately, live from Loudoun House. So that makes it kind of special. And, this has been a really wonderful. I don't know if we want to just share like last thoughts or anything, but this has been so much fun and weirdness. And oh my God, people, get your butts over here to Loudoun House in Lexington, because Ken Cravens has this amazing energy, and he calls it activist art. And you'll see why when you come here and see it for your own self, because it's just got I think the term is chi, like energy that just kind of flows through it all, and it will flow through you when you stand here yourself and see it with your own eyes. And I think that's just about it. Oh, except that I do want to thank, speaking of the artist himself, I want to thank Ken Cravens. I wish I could turn the camera on you, Ken, but that's, there he is. There's the hand. Yes. Oh, a rare sighting of the animal in the wild. Ken Cravens, folks, and each and every week, Ken and CouchFireMedia.com brings us this show and does amazing production. And I did want to say, I was telling him earlier that he reminds me of a DJ, because during the during the debate, Ken was in real time throwing up all these graphics that had everything to do with whatever those guys were talking about. And it just blows my mind that Ken is able to do this so effectively, so quickly, and just bring the power. And again, chi, like I said, he's got the chi in the art, and he's got the chi in the video production. So his activist art show here at Loudoun House is called American Exceptionalism, Degenerate Counterculture, and the 100 Seconds Until Midnight. It'll be live all of the rest of this month at the Lexington Art League. Yes, there. Look at that. Woo! Lexington, a little bit of chi for you. Lexington Arts League at the Loudoun House. Ken has a website for his own art. It's called all-lowercase-letters.com. That's literally the phrase, all-lowercase-letters.com. And you can also find him on Facebook at @obliquity of the ecliptic. And I'm not even going to spell that for you, but if you go to his all-lowercase-letters.com site, I have a feeling there will be a link to his Facebook page. The show that we've been seeing here is mixed media, so there's digital art, there's physical art. It features activism, of course, dissent of local, regional, and national political agendas and concepts. And it was created, why? For one reason only, to sublimate anxiety, fear, lies, hate, and anger since and before Trump. And of course, Mitch McConnell, or the man we love to hate, makes several pointed cameos as well. And lastly, if you want to help us keep going, a little bit of cash goes a long way. You can help us with a donation at secure.actblue.com/donate/MMRC.2020. Let me repeat that. secure.actblue.com/donate/MMRC2020. And thank you all so much. Any closing words for my wonderful co-hosts here?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So excited to watch that debate and be able to respond to it in real time and then roll on into the show. And I think there was a chance that maybe I cut Kimberly off early. She told me when she needed to leave, and so I was listening to that. Anyway, I did want to say thank you so much, Kimberly, Cecil-Jones, for your support and your work on this stuff. Thanks, Doug, in real life, right here, not pre-recorded. Pretty awesome. And of course, thanks to our social media chair there in the back, Annabelle Nagel, who does a fantastic job helping to keep everyone engaged and informed. And of course, as I mentioned, as Nate mentioned, Ken Howell from Couchfire Media does fantastic work each and every week. And go, leave, turn it off, go do something else, get outside. Take a walk. But yeah, we need to break this all down. And there's a lot of stuff to do because Ken built an entire studio here in this art gallery, which is phenomenal and impressive. And now we've got to coil up a lot of cables in exactly the right way so they don't remember the wrong thing you've done. I don't know. But yeah, have a great night, folks.
Mitch, please, take your money and go. Please, take your money and go. Mitch, please, take your money and go. Mitch, please, take your money and go.